Aloha. Welcome to the God Awful News. Because if you think the news was bad yesterday, you'd be right. If you think it's going to be bad, worse tomorrow, you'd also be right. For the next 3.5 years, the news is going to just go from bad to worse every single day and then start over again. And this is my channel, All Good Things and All Good Time, and my name's Craig Hamilton Bradley. Let's get down to the news. There's one thing that happened that was interesting because no one told the story of this guy. So we know about the shooter, right? There was the shooter in Idaho. Of course, his parents were Trump supporters, like all the terrorist children. Their parents are always Trump supporters, or almost all the time. And so what we saw was the Kootenai County Sheriff, right? God, what was his name? Robert something. Anyway, shortly after Trump was elected, in one of these town halls, this corrupt fascist sheriff, and I say that like Jesse Dollemore had a whole video entitled Fascist Idaho Sheriff. You know, the sheriff who hired some private security people and then detained someone for having an opinion at a town hall, right? That woman that was dragged out in Idaho by a sheriff. And then it turned out later that he had retired from LAPD, or the LA County Sheriff's Department, with full disability, unable to work. And he was getting like $150,000 a year from LA County on his disability. So, and none of that ever seemed to have come up. You know, he was the guy that was speaking in the press conferences about the MAGA kid who lured firefighters in and then shot them. So, and if you watch his interviews, he loves to try to talk about how, he was raised in Arizona, and he spent some time in California. He like tries to deflect it all off to these other places. And then there's another thing that wasn't reported, and that was that this kid lured in the fire department with a fire to murder them on the exact same day, historically, that the white supremacist compound was burned down. And that didn't seem to surface in the media. So, but that was just interesting because I kept saying, man, I've seen that guy before. And yeah, he was the corrupt sheriff that drug out that woman protesting all of the horrible things that the Republicans are doing in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Anywho, and that's that area is interesting to me. My 11 miles south of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, was the Bunker Hill Sullivan Mining and Concentration Company, which, when my great-grandfather became president of that in 1897, it was the largest mining operation in the world that also melted its products. So it had gold bars, silver bars, lead bars, anyway, if you ever visit Coeur d'Alene, be aware of the mining history of Kellogg, which is just beneath it. All right, so next, Edward Kelly, a January 6th insurrectionist, has been given life in prison for plotting to murder FBI agents and in an effort to start a civil war, because that's what all these MAGA traitors want to do, is start a civil war, a race war. Yeah, that's what we need. It's just so sad. Of course, there's extreme heat everywhere, and if you live in one of the red states and you voted for this horrible weather, you also voted to not get any help. The FEMA money you might have got is going to build a prison on an airstrip for migrants who are guilty of nothing. And John, what's up, John? What's up, Menlo Park, NorCal? Hey, thank you, man. So I am gonna and at the end, I think I'm gonna revisit the most dire warning I've ever heard that just seems to be more and more relevant all the time. And I'm just gonna read the text from the interview of of the warning that the alien gave us is starting to seem very, very scary because it gets closer and closer to being true every day. Anyway, the FBI was building a building to move to in Maryland, but this corrupt administration, Kash Patel, and that was the other thing, that what was that guy's name? Idaho County Sheriff. Anyway, he mentions Kash Patel. Kash Patel called me, he says, right? Because Kash Patel's his MAGA hero. And he promised to give me whatever I need. And so here they are. And he talks about this. He's got 300 people on the ground. After the shooter's dead, right? They really need 300 law enforcement agents there. Each one of them's making over $100,000 a year. Talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, right? It might take like 4 people to investigate that crime. But no, they needed soldiers everywhere with AR-15s and 300 of them. I mean, my God. Anyway, Jeff Bezos' wedding is interesting to many people for a lot of reasons. Interesting to me partly because, boy, her face is so fucked up. Lauren Sanchez's face is so fucked up. You get the feeling if she got near a sharp object, her face could just explode with freaking filler. Like every part of her face is puffy from being injected from I guess Botox, botulinum toxoiosum, the food poisoning that numbs your muscles in your face, which is so weird. Anyway, I mean, there's few faces that look as weirdly messed up as hers, and and she and her shitty husband, who never paid taxes, bought a house that no one ever lives in here in Maui, or if they are here, they can't go out anywhere because nobody likes them. All right. Jared Wise, one of the 4th guy to break into the Capitol, another January 6th insurrectionist, another seditious traitor. He was encouraging all the guys around him to kill the cops, kill him, right? That's what he kept inspiring his people around him, telling them, encouraging them, kill these cops. So that's Jared Wise, and he's just been hired to the Justice Department as a counselor for Ed Martin, right? Just a maggot traitor willing to do anything to break the law for this terrible president. And Ed Martin is the director of the weaponization working group. It's just a retribution. It's just an organization within the FBI to seek retribution on behalf of Donald Trump. The Department of Weaponization, right? Because it was you poor Republicans and you white people who are always the victims, right? Everyone's weaponized against you and your criminal behavior. Maybe you're criminals that need to be held accountable. Anyway, moving on. Trade agreement with Vietnam. Oh, really? We got a new trade agreement with Vietnam on the backs of a $1.5 billion Trump golf course and a Trump skyscraper to follow. So much corruption. Oh, but what about Joe Biden's son getting a little bit of $50,000 a month from Burisma? Totally irrelevant. The president taking a $1.5 million bribe from... Yeah, so that's all these tariffs are, bribes. Bribe mechanisms. Of course, Alligator Alcatraz, and it's officially named that. Just depravity on the highest level, and the sickest people ever. What continues to shock so many is the is their joy in inflicting pain and doom on people and ruining their lives. Yeah, Cash App. Oh God. And it looks like a catcher's mitt. I know her face does look like a catch. That's great. Oh, it's true. A nice, yeah. It's just unbelievable. And now she's entitled to what, a whole bunch of his stuff if she decides to bail on him. Anyway, so Alligator Alcatraz is just an abomination, right? $400 million needs to be spent on that place to put up a tent and some chain link fence. I mean, 400 million, right? I mean, I see that they've spent maybe $1 million, and you know, there've been a couple questions. Well, there is a question. One of it is about sewage. They're above the water table, obviously, and are they just going to pump it into the Everglades? What are they going to do with the sewage? And then, so they built a tent with beds, and they're putting people in there right now. What about kitchen facilities? How are they going to cook for 1,000, 5,000 people a day? What, with a camp kitchen? Of course, all that is a second thought, right? They probably don't even have any food there, or if they do, it's chips, you know? I mean, anyway, all right. We have new taxes being imposed on wind and solar, because that's what we need to do. We make it harder for wind and solar to be profitable. And then we've ended subsidies for wind and solar and renewable energies. So none of that's good. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, Senator Whitehouse did this very effective speech on the amount of heat that we're pumping into the ocean, how many atomic bombs basically are absorbed by the ocean as far as heat goes every second, every minute. And to that fact, he brought up the fact that the temperature of the water off the coast of Florida has hit 100 degrees, right? The recommended heat for a hot tub, which obviously isn't a very good temperature for marine life. Anyway, that is a pretty good, if you haven't seen it, it's Senator Whitehouse. I think he's originally from Canada, because boy, would he be a great president otherwise, you know? Senator Whitehouse from the White House. Anyway, Zoran Mamdani, an admitted Democratic socialist, not afraid to say he wants to give away, oh, you know what? I can turn this on right now and watch myself do this show. And now I am one more of the people watching. Now there are 5 people watching. All right. So yeah, Zoran Mamdani, and as you might have predicted, these children that call themselves Republicans, these criminals, these reprehensible, devil-worshipping criminals, they're calling him a communist, of course, because every Democrat is a communist, and they're calling him illegal. Now we gotta revoke. There's 29 million naturalized, full-blown citizens in our country, and now we're gonna look for excuses to misuse laws to start taking people's citizenship away, so that we can then deport them. And of course, David Pakman is feeling this because he suspects that they'll eventually be coming for him, which they probably will. And then once they've dehumanized and targeted those people, they'll start dehumanizing and targeting every critic of this piece of shit president and all the derelicts that surround him. It's just unbelievable how these people, they are throwing their lives away in pursuit of destroying the world, which I think is where this is all headed, and that's what I'm going to talk about at the end. I think we're headed for the destruction of the world. Unless, good people rise up in enough time and do the right thing. Of course, Congress just didn't do the right thing, and they just made everybody so worried. And what I sort of worry about is that we're just going to go from, we're so worried about this set of awful circumstances, and then that's just superseded by another set of even more awful circumstances that we're concerned about. And then that's ultimately superseded by worse concerns, which then ultimately leads to some nuclear bombs being set off somewhere in the world, and then us all having to capitulate. What the fuck are we going to do now? And that being the superseding worry that definitely trumps all the other ones, of course, brought on by the racist traitor, the bigot himself. Anyway, so yeah, you gotta love Zoran Mamdani representing the people, because everything he's saying makes sense, right? If we're gonna watch the billionaires get all the tax breaks at the expense of the poor people, and all this money is just gonna go straight upward, the way to slow it down is to put a stop on rent increases, right? Because that's how most of the rich people are scraping all the money earned from the poor people right off the top, right off their backs, right? If you're working roofing, if you're doing the hardest work in the country, and you're paying 50% of that to your landlord, you're just working to push money upward for people who don't pay any taxes on it, while you do. And so, yeah, free buses are a good idea. I now have free bus. Hawaii is so great, or at least Maui. If you're over 55, the bus is free if you're a local resident, and that totally makes sense. And it totally makes sense for New York to make the bus free. Anyway, all right, and moving on. Since these mercenaries, right? Mercenaries were hired by the IDF, and these mercenaries are former CIA intelligence officers, right? And they are sociopaths who love to murder and kill, just like the IDF. And so over 600 people have been slaughtered. They just make target practice. When they bring out the food, supposedly the Humanitarian Foundation, right? A total lie. When they come in for food, because their children are literally, their stomachs are burning, their blood is boiling because they're starving to death. So the fathers run in and they get shot. 600 people have been murdered just trying to get aid, right? In the cruelest. And then, of course, the thing I suspected, I've just heard the first sign of it. The thing that I suspected, I've just heard the first sign of it, and that is that if they want to exterminate these people, which is what they want to do, they don't see them as human. They can poison their food, and I hear they are. I hear they're putting Oxycontin in their food and murdering them. So just sick, twisted, inhumane, very sad. And 600 have been killed. And then of course they just bombed a cafe on the water, right? And just murdering children and families and innocent people. It's just it's brutal. Anyway, and every once in a while, on the Western media, they're like, this one thing happened. Well, every single day, 50 to 100 people are bombed, shot, hit with drones. There's sniper drones that kill people, and they want to target children because they see it as, if we kill the children, then that's just killing future terrorists, right? That's their sick and twisted way of dehumanizing these Palestinian people that just really don't deserve this. It's not their fault that Hamas has done what they did. And anyway, all right. Trump just told the criminal Republicans are impounding funds, right? Funds that have been legally authorized by Congress. They're supposed to go out of the Treasury to the thing, whatever it is. And in this case, it's our schools. $6.8 billion is supposed to go out to all the public schools everywhere. Well, Trump and the racist bigot traitors, they don't want that money to go out. So they're just stopping it. They won't let it go. Total corruption, right? And no one knows how long it's going to be before they let that money go, or if they're going to let that money go ever. And so schools are suddenly, immediately, overnight, having to figure out what they're going to cut, which are all going to be programs that affect the most needy kids, right? The starving kids, the special needs kids, the before-school kids, the after-school kids, everything, school lunches, it's all bad. It's all bad. But that's what Republicans do. All bad. They don't do one good thing. Wouldn't it be cool if Republicans do one, maybe two? What if they did two good things? I know that's a lot to ask for. It'll never happen. Judge ruled unlawful elimination of HHS mass firings. So the Health and Human Services Department was created by Congress, and it is illegal for Trump to destroy it without congressional approval. And a judge just ruled that that was unlawful, and all the mass firings. Of course, it's just a temporary stay, and those people in the meantime are still fired and not receiving any income. Meanwhile, somehow our government, without spending any, they're not spending any money on anything, but they're spending more money than they did under Joe Biden. And they're taking less money in. How is it that they continue to spend more money than Joe Biden ever spent? And they're not paying any of the money we know that they're supposed to pay out. USAID's not getting any money. Universities aren't getting money. Schools aren't getting any money. Hospitals aren't going to get any money. Yet somehow, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good story. A story of a school principal working a second job so he can provide meals for the kids in school. I mean, yeah, and that's amongst other things. I think there'll be a lot of situations. All the heroes are going to step up, right? Like the guy who just talked to the guy down here in the parking lot who said, "Hey, man, if you're worried about immigration ever coming for you, you can come stay at my house, dude, anytime. And I got Faraday bags if you want to use them." Or you should get Faraday bags to hide your phone, because that's how they're tracking you, immigrants, based on that your compliance with immigration, right? And how many heroes are going to be like, "Hey, listen, we have identical apartments, right? I live next door to you. You move into my apartment, I'll move into yours. That way, when immigration comes, they'll be coming to a place where there's just an American citizen waiting there," right? I mean, I could see. I bet people have done that already, or doing that right now. They're moving from apartment to apartment right now to bait and switch the fucking immigration assholes. Anyway, Guantanamo, right? Guantanamo has a bunch of tents set up now, and then we've got immigrants there from like 10 different countries because, what a great way if you're an evil Republican, right? What do you just want to get them out of the country as quickly as possible, and since you can't take them to another country, you just take them to Guantanamo. So they're in complete limbo, right? And it's just torture. So much torture. And then there's Kilmar. Anyway, let's see. We'll get back to that. And how about this? At Guantanamo, there are prisoners, right? Immigration prisoners from China, Jamaica, Liberia, and Britain, United Kingdom. We have some Englishmen locked up at Guantanamo, right? Meanwhile, more and more people are dying in ICE custody because the conditions are worse than deplorable. They're worse than concentration camps. In concentration camps, they had beds, right? Anyway, I love this shit. They just keep. How about this? The corrupt immigration organizations, they don't want to give due process to immigrants. So after they illegally detain them, kidnap them, they're deporting them out of California first right away. They can't see a judge in California because they might get due process. And the fear of due process has provoked the immigration assholes to just scoop up Californians and take them to, Louisiana or Texas or wherever else. It's just a brutal, evil tactic. Also, just separating them from their loved ones. So sad. I just saw this woman just spent 140 days in detention, married to an American citizen, came here, was born in Saudi Arabia where she wasn't given citizenship, came here when she was 8, was working on her citizenship, a legal, one of the legal immigrants, if you want. And they just scooped her up and put her in a freaking prison, a disgusting prison and they tried to rush her out of the country twice, right, to some third country, right? She's a person with no country, and she had been shown so much compassion throughout her life by this country. You know, she thought that's who we were, and now she just doesn't understand, doesn't recognize this country, and it's just the saddest story ever. And she had a team of professors and teachers and lawyers working to get her out of there. And meanwhile, she is one out of 1,000 that has all that support, right? And so most people who are being unlawfully swept up, unconstitutionally, treated like criminals when they're not, harmed in the process. It is just so disheartening. It's why it's hard to do this news. I don't know how much longer I can do it because it's so depressing. The news has just gotten so depressing. Oh, it's enough to make me want to drink, but I don't want to drink because I'm trying to get in shape. Just in case I might have a chance at living a long life, which is looking less and less every day. Oh my God. So Trump attacks Harvard, right? And this is the shit that kills me. Right? Like this kid, this mass shooter, this murderer, whose parents, you know, his MAGA parents raised him to be a murderer, with all their white victimhood. And this kid, of course, with his Republican parents, grew up drawing swastikas on his books in school and got in trouble for that. So yeah, he's not a he's not a Muslim terrorist, a radical left terrorist. You know, 4% of crime, of terrorism, is committed by the Democrats, left wing. 80% of it is committed by right-wing psychopath Republican traitors, and 15% is someone else, like someone from the Middle East with a grudge. So we know who the real threat, we know who the enemy within is. It's the people who commit all the mass shootings and who raise their children to be mass shooters. Republicans. So sad. So Trump attacks Harvard, saying the Jews were mistreated. Now, I just find that rich, right? When all the 100% of the Nazis in our country, 100% of them are Republicans. And they publicly endorse the Republican Party. 100% of the Ku Klux Klan members, 100% of them are Republicans. And 100% of the Ku Klux Klan supports the Republican Party. The Proud Boys, you know, the ones Trump referred to as his friends, and who went down the street in liberal Charlottesville with signs chanting, "Jews will not replace us. Jews will not replace us," right? Just total anti-Semitic, Jew-hating Republicans, right? All the Jew-hating is in the Republican Party. It's amazing. And of course, Stephen Miller, it's just crazy that he's a Jew, considering he is the perpetrator of the newest Holocaust, right? The leader of the Holocaust, the current Holocaust, is a Jew. And his, I mean, the president is the guy at the top, but we know that a lot of this is just Stephen Miller and all his white supremacy. So, and this, oh man, this goes back to a joke. I'm just saying, like, when I saw Jews will not replace us, I was like, what? Like, of course they attack the whitest white people. I mean, right? Like, Stephen Miller thinks he's the whitest white guy ever. He's so white he can join sides with the white supremacists, which is so weird because they hate him because he's Jewish. But yeah, so it's a joke. It's a joke every time. The Project Esther Heritage Foundation trying to make it so that anybody who's against genocide is definitely a Hamas or a terrorist supporter. No, they're not. No, there's no terrorist support in the group of people that are against genocide. No, they're people who have a heart, a soul, right? They don't want to see people murdered. Oh my God. It's just so gross. Every time they try to play the victim and say that it's the left-wing people that hate the Jews. No, they hate genocide. Everybody hates genocide. Anybody with a heart, a soul, a mind, Anybody that wants to sleep at night is against and of course one of the worst genocides is in Sudan. That gets no press. That's the worst humanitarian disaster in the world right now. And then there's the horrible humanitarian and the genocide in Gaza. And then there's the genocide from Putin trying to eliminate the Ukrainian people. It's brutal. And then now we have our own government committing genocide in 10 different ways, right? The 10 arms of genocide of the Republican Party. Let's see. They're going to kill 14. They've already killed over 500,000 people through starvation by not giving aid to the people in refugee camps, right? And the starving people. We're going to starve our own children by taking away their school lunches. We're starving our seniors. We've taken away their Meals on Wheels. We're taking away food for the starving in SNAP benefits, right? So we're starving our own people there. We're pushing disease out there all over the world, which is killing people. We're actively murdering migrants in facilities that are killing them. And in so many other ways. We're just killing people. And this blood is on my hands too, because I'm an American. I didn't vote for this, but I have no choice. And now we're a target. Oh, we're killing people all over the Middle East. Israel is bombing Syria and Lebanon and Yemen and now Iran. We got war with Iran. And is that going to be the thing that leads us to a nuclear catastrophe? Because it sure could. And of course, we have a fear. We can't do that to North Korea that now has 50. They have 50 nukes in North Korea. Intercontinental ballistic missile nukes, the kind that Reagan said we need to get a whole bunch of, which we did. But we can't bomb those because if we do, it'll detonate those nuclear bombs. And then those clouds will come our way, and then everyone in the Northern Hemisphere will die, or many of them. And then, of course, why? You know, Russia has 6,000. We have 6,000 nukes. It only takes like 5 to fuck the whole world up. So, you know, and now that we have just idiots pushing the world towards instability, pushing the world off a cliff, and we have these psychopaths like Hegseth and these Zionist psychopaths that want to fulfill biblical prophecies, which is going to get us all killed. These superstitions are going to get us all killed. And then, of course, the confluence of AI in there, right, is going to get us all killed by AI. That's going to be the next genocide, the AI genocide. Because the thing about artificial intelligence, it'll never be half as good as any human, ever, because it'll never have a heart. It'll never have a mind. It'll never think, I need to make life better for people, right? Why would AI ever care about making life better for all the people everywhere in the world? Just like the study of economic philosophy. The study of economic philosophy is a progression of creating the greatest good for the greatest number. And that is a noble cause, man, one I can get behind. But that's not what we're seeing. So, anyway. CBS capitulates. They need to do a merger between Sky, whoever, Dance, and CBS or Paramount, and the only way they can get to that, because they got to get congressional or presidential approval, the only way they can do that is to just pay the bribe. So they capitulated in a case they would have won against the president, and they paid him $15 million. Now ABC has paid him, and now I hate the fact that there's so much rhetoric about how you can't trust mainstream media, can't trust them because they do have honest, hardworking journalists doing, God's work. And then this happens, and so now they can't, and they're being restrained, and they're having to frame it. They're not fact-checking shit anymore. They're framing everything. They're normalizing everything, and it's just gross. So I guess NBC, MSNBC. CNBC, and thank God Jimmy Kimmel's there. That's going to be the last bastion of mainstream media that hasn't given in to Donald Trump. So that's interesting. It's weird, but it stains something that didn't need to be stained. Right? They're being accused of being fake news when they're not fake news, and now their news is becoming more fake because of their fear of the president's retribution. Anyway. ICE just starts pulling over and detaining someone because they're brown skinned, a citizen on her way to work. Nobody they were looking for. They weren't looking for anybody. They just saw a brown skinned person in LA, pulled over, tackled her, detained her, locked her up, American citizen, right? Because they detain first, ask questions later. And how screwed is the state of Hawaii going to be when those boot thugs come here? That's why it's so disgusting when Republicans come here on vacation, not realizing that they voted to destroy Hawaii. You Republicans voted to destroy the state of Hawaii, right? Because you hate this place so much. You voted to destroy California because you've been taught to dehumanize people from California. It's sick. Everybody here is brown skin, right? You racist, sick, bigoted traitors when you come here on vacation or when you ICE sick. Oh, and then how about the agencies? We're just doing what we're just following orders, ma'am. One of these fucking dipshit, traitors who's kidnapping people, committing crimes, hurting people, says we're just following orders. Okay, so if you're one of these people that doesn't get it, you have agency. You get to choose whether or not you violate the Constitution. You took an oath to the Constitution, right? And if your boss tells you to violate it, it's upon you to not violate that oath to the Constitution. But, of course, maggot, racist, Republican traitors aren't smart enough to understand that. They just think they're supposed to follow orders. But they're also making the most money they've ever made in their lives with this new job, you know. And they're recruiting bounty hunters and any racist. I'm sure that they're hiring at the Ku Klux Klan. They're hiring within the Proud Boys, right? They're down there in Vidor, Texas, the most racist town in America. They probably got an employment office right there. Oh, and they're taking people from prison systems and putting them in. And it's all for profit, right? For sick and evil profit of corporations that own and run prisons. So they're getting a certain amount of money per person, and their goal is to deliver as little services as possible. That way it costs as little as possible, and they can profit the most on people's misery. It's just horrible, horrible to watch. It's breaking everybody's heart. I mean, why won't this? I keep trying to, I'm sorry to be distracted here. Come on. Why won't it play? Okay, I think it's gonna play. Finally. Okay. Here, let's see. No, oh no. Oh, I've got the wrong, oh God. I hate it when it does this. All right. So, yeah, I have the wrong picture on the wrong video. Somehow, it weirdly does this. It takes it from this video and puts it on the live view of the ocean outside. Which just drives me nuts. Anyway, shoots. I can change that right now while we're talking. Oh man. Anyway, all right. All right. Well, I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'll fix it afterwards. All right. So, what else? All right. So, ICE detains. Okay, DOJ threatens 29 million. I already talked about that. Naturalized citizens. All right. So that's a bummer. A Canadian, Johnny Noviello, dies in custody. That's going to really be exciting for Canadians to want to come to America, where they might get locked up in prison and die in prison because they want to come here on vacation. Senator Murkowski disappointed everybody. She is spineless, and you just got to wonder who is threatening her, right? And wouldn't it be nice if somebody took her job in Alaska that had a backbone? I saw an interesting thing done from the Bible, Leviticus. Well, these ladies from I've Had It. Leviticus, they pointed out this excerpt that says you're supposed to love immigrants, treat them like they're you, because you were an immigrant, you come from immigrants, right? AOC said something very poignant when she said this big, deadly, disgusting, evil bill is it's making a deal with the devil. That's what AOC said, and she is right. Um, Making a deal with the devil, and that bill is so bad. We're about to get to that. What's here on the back side? So Kristi Noem is a thief. She stole from what, $80,000 in campaign funds and directed it towards her very weird, suspicious company that she opened in Delaware. Delaware pays no taxes, right? Called Ashwood Strategies, right? $80,000 just funneled from campaign funds into her company. Meanwhile, she's sporting a $50,000 watch when she goes to look over the poor souls in the Seacott prison. Russia just attacked Ukraine worse than it's ever attacked Ukraine. Ukraine just retaliated beautifully. But at the exact same time, these dangerous, racist bigots, these criminals in the executive branch of the United States government, Trump and all his dipshit minions, they've decided to stop helping Ukraine. Ukraine is expecting one weapons package after another to arrive, and they just keep getting diverted somewhere else. And then we're just pulling the rug out, right? Because that's what evil Republicans love to do to anyone from anywhere for any reason. Just pull the rug out from under them, right? And so that's what Trump's doing to Ukraine. Luckily, Europe is really rallying behind. Thank you, Europe and Canada, for rallying behind Ukraine as our racist, bigoted, freaking piece of shit traitor Republican turns his back on democracy here, there, and everywhere. Now the lower courts can no longer stop. It's so sick. Supreme Court's so screwed up. They just made it so lower courts can't stop Trump's illegal actions. So every illegal action Trump takes, every illegal, unconstitutional executive order, the only way I guess it can be stopped is if it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. Anyway, so that's just sad, which is going to make, so every time Trump puts forth an illegal, unconstitutional executive order, it's going to last a lot longer. And then when it finally gets to the one body that should stop it, no one will know if they will or not, because they're so corrupt. Our Supreme Court is so corrupt. And what about Justice Alito? I'm pretty sure he comes from some Italian immigrants that were discriminated against way back when, and he doesn't know his place, right? Oh my God, right? His ancestors didn't come here 400 years ago like mine did. His ancestors probably came here like 3 generations ago, and were second-class citizens when they got here, because that's how Irish and Italians were treated. But how quickly people forget. Kristi Noem says that Haiti is safe to return to. So we're going to be forcing 500,000 hard-working Haitians that are here just working their ass off on temporary protected status, right? Doing jobs no Americans want to do. Probably 99% of them are employed. And now they're going to be treated like criminals and told, you got to go back to Haiti, where it's very, very unsafe. Most areas are controlled by violent gangs, and it is very, very sad, but also bad for our country. If you're a hunter or a fisherman, if you love the environment, and if you were stupid enough to vote to kill the environment that you hunt and fish in, you should recognize that you were stupid, and you should never vote for Republican again. If you hunt or fish and you love hunting and fishing, then you need to vote for every environmentalist that ever walked this planet, because they're your friend. The only place a fish or a deer can live is in a pristine environment. And to that point, Trump just ended a law that we started in 2001 that prohibited new roads on it's called the Roadless Area Conservation Rule, right? If there's no roads there, we build no new roads there. And we leave unadulterated, beautiful, untouched parts of our country the way they are currently sitting. But no, we're going to start building roads in there, and we're going to sell it off to billionaires, and we're going to log it, and we're going to try to get oil out of it, which is not the right way to go considering we're destroying our planet. Oceans are rising really fast. We're killing all the things that provide all the oxygen to us, like the coral reefs provide oxygen, which are now 85% bleached globally. That's recent new news. Anyway. And back to the 100-degree water in Florida. You think that's good for coral reefs? All right. Impressively, in New York, 1 million people marched for Pride celebrations. I never really took an interest in Pride events, but now that the LGBTQ community is under such attack from racist bigots who want to dehumanize these people, I have decided for the rest of my life I'm going to attend these events. And so that's why I was happy to go to the one here. I saw my first drag show. Is that what it's called? That was interesting. And I went to the one in San Francisco and filmed live in both of them. And they were just interesting. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I don't know if you've ever had dreams of being naked in public, right? Where you're like, all of a sudden you're just naked in public and you're like, what am I going to do? I had a friend of mine who, in college, he was running from the cops drunk, and he spun out, coming over a hill, and then backwards. He went through, there was 2 posts, a light post or a telephone pole and a light post, and there was just enough room for like 8 inches on both sides, and somehow his car went straight through that backwards, and he ended up in a ditch. And then he went through the creek to where his parents lived, or his grandparents who raised him. And then the cops came there, and then he had to jump over that fence. And in all the process, he lost his pants. And so he was in his underwear. And he had an apartment 3 miles across town. And he snuck all the way across town in the middle of the night in his underwear back to his apartment. Now, maybe it's that story that gives me these weird dreams of suddenly being in public without any clothes for some reason. But at the Pride celebrations in San Francisco, around the capital of San Francisco, right, City Hall, they just block off streets. Cops get in there and make barriers and make sure it's safe for everybody. And droves of people come there, and merchants, and I filmed that. But there's also just a bunch of naked men. None of the other different variations of the LGBTQ community seem to go naked, but the men, they go naked, and they're everywhere. Naked penises swinging around, penises and testicles swinging everywhere. It's the funniest and weirdest thing you ever did see, but it gave me the thought, what if, you had those kinds of dreams? You could go there, strip naked, and walk around in public naked as if it's no big deal, and experience that weird-ass dream you've had about being naked in public. Anyway, bringing those weird 2 things together. All right, it would just be kind of funny. We just sent $510 million worth of bombs to the people who really need more bombs, and that's Israel, because they just keep going through them. And I have wondered, how do they have so many bombs? They are bombing 5 different countries at the same time, including their own, I guess 6? Let's see. Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Yemen, Palestine. Oh, and they're going in with brutal force into the West Bank, and they're talking about annexing it, and they just want to, now they've got this green light on terror, and they're just bringing terror to the Palestinian people in Gaza and in the West Bank, and it is really hard. The whole world is wondering how the whole world can watch this, and how our leaders can stand by and watch it, and how anyone can be involved in it. But the people who are perpetrating this stuff are really sick. They are sick in their minds. They are mentally ill, politically and or religiously mentally ill. They cheer at when they kill men, women, and children. Literally cheer, rejoice in it. Just like our sick and twisted Republicans are cheering and rejoicing at scooping up innocent, hardworking people that have contributed greatly to our country off the streets illegally, right? And then harming them in the process, putting them in a harmful situation, and then sending them somewhere even more harmful. Um, it's terrible. And so yeah, it's just so much death, destruction, and pain and suffering that's unnecessary, that's being brought by these evil everywhere in the world. The conservatives, the Orthodox, everything, all the religions seem like they're pretty shitty. They all are complicit in a whole lot of rape and murder. But seems like the hardcore part of every religion is even worse, right? The Orthodox Catholics are psychos like Amy Coney Barrett. The Orthodox Muslims are crazy. Orthodox Jews are crazier than shit. Afraid to touch fucking their door because it has an electronic key. I can't touch my door at the hotel. I mean, come on. Anyway, it's all weird. But yeah, $500 million in bombs we just had to send or give to Israel to continue their bombing campaign. They're dropping 500. Imagine the evil implicitly there. If you're going to drop just randomly on a populated area a 500-pound bomb or a 2,000-pound bomb, which are the bombs they're dropping on the people of Gaza, including shooting tank mortars at people coming in to get help, right? The case of these mercenaries cheering, "Oh, I think I got one," when they're literally just having target practice with human beings that are starving, so hungry and such pain that they'll endure being shot at to go get food. It's so sad. But yeah, 50 to 100 people are slaughtered every single day coming for food. It's not a humanitarian effort. It's an effort to slaughter these people. And there's suggestions and evidence that they're poisoning the food now too, which is probably what we should have expected. Bill Moyer died. Now that's it's not a good story because he passed away, but his life was a life well lived, a great guy. And to me, he's special because he's the one guy. Bill Moyer was the one guy that got Joseph Campbell to do an interview, a nice, lengthy set of interviews where he explained his perspective. And it was listening to Bill Moyer's interview with Joseph Campbell, who is the author by which his books and his writings are what George Lucas used to make the Star Wars movie, right? If you don't know the history of Star Wars movies, they were brought to life because of the philosophy and the information that George Lucas learned from Joseph Campbell. So Joseph Campbell was interviewed in Upper Lucas Valley on the Nicasio side, right? Over Big Rock to the right. If you're coming from Highway 101, is the Skywalker Studios, George Lucas's estate. And it's in the big white house. There's a big white house, looks like one of those Mississippi boats, just a big Victorian rectangular house set back. And in there, in the fireplace room, Bill Moyer interviewed him. And it was after watching this on PBS in the late 80s that I decided, hey, I need to give myself a rite of passage. I should ride my bicycle to Florida. And so that contributed towards my decision to ride a bicycle across the United States the first time, the second and the third. I mean, it was all of it was an effort to, give myself a rite of passage because we don't have those anymore. And that was part of one of his lectures that Bill Moyer interviewed him on and got out of him. He never did interviews with anybody. None of his lectures were recorded, which is why I want to find these people and try to do that with them who are around us before they die in so many cases. But it's such a weird world where people don't always want to be exposed to the whole world, even though maybe they're old and they'd like their story to be remembered. It's a lot for people to wrap their head around. Not everybody wants to do something that puts themselves out there in public on YouTube, right? Especially in a place like Maui, where I know so many people who are living the best lives ever lived, and they don't need to brag about it, right? They don't go on Facebook and take a picture of it and show it there every day. They just go live it every day. The ones who do put it on Facebook every day are kind of weird because that's a way to take away from living a good life. Anyway, so yeah, Bill Moyer. Interesting. He helped found the Peace Corps, right? He was working in government first, and then he became a journalist long after doing amazing works, helping found the Peace Corps, which is being dismantled by these racist Republican traitors right now. Kilmar. So Kilmar Abrego Garcia shed some light. His attorney, in a filing, described the torture that he endured. He and several others were put on their knees from 9 o'clock in the evening, okay, till 6 a.m. in the morning. So for 9 hours on his knees, right? I mean, if I get down on my knees for a minute, it hurts. On his knees, on pavement, for 9 hours, shackled with hands behind their back. And if they fell asleep or nodded off at all, they were beaten, right? Just tortured. That was how he was welcomed into the Seacott prison, where everyone is told, once you come in, you never leave. And so that's really hard to hear. And of course, there's the gay hairdresser and all the others. There were probably 20 out of the 270 put in there that had ever committed a crime in our country, right? The rest of them are innocent people being treated like this, and it's so sad. It is so sad. Now, so many of them. But of course, racist, evil, really just devil-worshipping Republican traitors, they smile at that. They love the thought of torturing innocent people, hurting people, makes Republicans happy because they are politically mentally ill or religiously mentally ill or a combination of the two. And it breaks my freaking heart. Anyway, again, if you've never done it, zoom in on your own on Google Earth View, find the Seacott prison. Notice there's 2 rows of big buildings, and in the middle corridor at the top, there's a shed. It's got what looks like a pile of dead bodies and a huge swath of blood all over the ground, and then a drain out the back of just blood draining off. And when that was built, it was built by a contractor who builds veterinary clinics that also include crematoriums. So do they have a crematorium on site? Are they killing and burning those bodies right there on site, just like the Holocaust? Right? Stephen Miller, it's amazing that a Jew is all too happy to commit, and Tom Holm is not a Jew, but Stephen Miller is a Jew committing a Holocaust right now. It is, if it wasn't true, I mean, it would be unfathomable. Unfathomable. Anyway, 75-year-old dies in custody. Isidro Perez, he was in the United States for 60 years, living on his boat. He'd worked hard, raised a family, been a good citizen. He'd committed a crime in like 1981, and then he went to prison, and then he became reformed in prison. And I don't know if you ever heard of this, but we used to have this expression that time served, right? You paid your debt to society. All these people were saying are criminal, illegal criminals. They're just people who once committed a crime and who paid for it already, right? Might have been a bag of weed. In this case, this guy was caught with 1,500 pounds of marijuana. So more than a bag of weed, but still did his time in prison, paid his debt to society, turned his life around, right? Anybody that committed any crime, and then if you haven't heard, 8% of the people we're rounding up and deporting, only 8% of them have ever committed a crime. And those people who committed crimes paid their debt to society already. So now they gotta be murdered because they were stupid enough to think they could trust the United States of America. You know, the United States of America that Ronald Reagan said was a light shining on a hill. Not anymore, man. This is formerly known as the United States of America at this point. All right. The bill, the big awful bill, it's going to add they're underestimating. I bet it's closer to $5 trillion to the national debt, but they're saying $3.5 trillion to the national debt. It has a measure in there that says you cannot have any restrictions for artificial intelligence. Well, artificial intelligence is one of the things that's going to kill us all. So that's good. Make sure that artificial intelligence has no restrictions, right? Because what we need is this unbridled, sentient being that has no heart, mind, or soul, that doesn't give a shit about killing humans, because it's not human. So it'll never be half as good as a human. God, that'd be the best thing to run on. I imagine myself running for office, whatever office. Let's say I'm running for mayor, saying I'm going to try to fight artificial intelligence from fucking up our life here. Like, there's nobody in Maui that's thinking, oh, my life needs to be better with AI. No, their lives are good already. The only thing AI can do is mess up an otherwise beautifully lived life of somebody here in Maui. Surveillance, all of it. We need to stop the surveillance. I heard somebody saying, oh, we were going to get money for our police department so we could buy flock surveillance. I'm like, whoa, we don't want you to get money for that. Anyway, license plate readers, we don't need that. We don't want it. Yeah, anyway. All right. And to those insane enough and stupid and ignorant enough to say, oh, why should I care? I don't break any laws. Really? You really want artificial intelligence to be monitoring every move you make and then creating narratives about who they think you are and why you go places and where you go there and what your habits are exactly to the T, right? That's what's being done, right? They're creating dossiers on you. They know who you are. They know your car. They read your license plate. They say, oh, he went there for a half hour every day, or they go there. And what if it's an evil, racist, bigot, unconstitutional traitor that wants to harm as many people as possible, like all the Republicans or Stephen Miller? You trust Stephen Miller? You trust Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, with knowing everything about everything you do all the time? What if they want to weaponize government? Oh, they are weaponizing government right now, right? So that's why you should never want any surveillance, ever. Because it's all can only be used for evil. And the few times it's used to solve a crime, hallelujah. But it's not a fair trade. It's just never going to be. So then there's silencers, because what we need are all these sick bastards, 18-year-olds, who can walk into a gun store and buy a military-grade weapon. 7 years. A young man's brain, the frontal cortex that helps you make good decisions, it's not fully developed till you're 25 years old. So let's give 18-year-olds 7 years from a fully developed brain, a military gun, a 30-round clip, a thing that allows them to turn it into a machine gun, and then let's make sure they can buy silencers for it. That's going to make America safe. That's what this administration's doing. They're just doing everything that Americans want to make us safer. Sweeping up all the landscapers and locking them up in prison. How about this poor father? He was just doing landscaping work at IHOP, because that's what these people are guilty of, working 60 hours a week, doing a job you and I might not want to do. And his 3 sons are all, 2 of them are actively serving in the Marine Corps. And we just locked up his father and injured him in the process. I mean, it is heartbreaking and disgusting. We just put $170 billion into mass surveillance, into 19,000 immigration agents, right? Gestapo boot thugs on steroids. We're going to have so many of them everywhere, just detaining people right and left because they look like they're not from here. Are you really an American if you're not white? Oh my God, it's just going to be disgusting. And here, 82% of the population isn't white. So when 82% of the population isn't white, and these people are just targeting people based on the color of their skin, what do you think is going to happen when these racist Gestapo Nazi boot thugs of the racist Republican Party come here to hurt brown-skinned people? And everybody qualifies as a brown-skinned person. it's going to be such a freaking nightmare. And these people are not, it's a civil offense. Being undocumented is a civil offense. You're not a criminal. Criminals are people that do harm and crime, like all the Republicans. Harm and crime is what a criminal is. Republicans are doing nothing but harm and crime to the American people and to people all around the world, just killing people. I mean, the estimate now, USAID withdrawal is going to kill 14 million people. What is it, an average of like 3 million people a year? Three and a half. We've already killed 1 million people by starving them to death. So, good job, Republicans. What else? Oh, 18 million people are going to lose their health care. So, per million, then I think this is the one most relevant statistic that you need to think about. Every time they say millions of people are going to lose their health care, out of every million people, there are 3,000 that are just extremely vulnerable. Extremely vulnerable, right? If you take away their health care, it's the thing that is keeping them alive in that moment, right? Like the oxygen they need to breathe. You take that away and they die in 2 days. So 3,000 people per million will be murdered by this bill that just passed. Republicans are going to murder. And now 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 8 is 24. So that's 54,000. Basically the same number of young men and women that died in Vietnam are going to die from losing their health care thanks to the evil perpetrated by the Republican Party. It is just so heartbreaking. And what is, none of this actually is supposed to affect me, but it affects me. I am having a hard time, not getting negatively affected, in my day-to-day. Just so pissed off. Like if I meet a Republican today, I'm going to want to fucking cuss at that motherfucker for voting for this shit. Like, fuck you, motherfucker. Pardon my language. But that's the kind of thoughts I have towards these horrible people that are celebrating the harm being done to people on so many levels, domestically, abroad, including, and just one egregious thing is just the veterans. We're turning our back on veterans with health care, right? We are killing veterans right now. We took away veterans' suicide hotline because we don't want to pay for that, right? With all that money that we're supposedly saving, even though we're spending more than Joe Biden ever spent. And where's that money going? Why isn't anybody asking where's that money going? And where's the accounting? Like, isn't there some accountant that's supposed to pay attention? This is why I would love to be president, because I would be a pseudo accountant. I would want to know about every dollar leaving the Treasury, where it's going, why it's going there, what congressional thing designated that money to go there, and then the freaking military budget. I would have all the generals in there, and you go into detail on exactly why you need every fucking penny for everything, and without good explanations, and then accountability. It wouldn't be fun to be the president just so you could be a fucking accountant and make sure that everything's done the right way instead of the opposite? Because I'm pretty sure there's been schemes going on ever since the defense secretary on the eve of 9/11 stated publicly that the guy that Reagan took from NutraSweet Corporation and then made him the head of the Food and Drug Administration, who later became the defense secretary. He announced that $2 trillion was missing, and they don't know where it went and whatnot. And so that's part of the conspiracy theory, right? Well, that was the news the day before 9/11, and 9/11 really got us off of that news, right? Anyway, and then of course Elon Musk went in there and got the keys to the Treasury, so who knows what money's getting funneled in and out. I mean, all you need is a little line of code, apparently, from Social Security to just start funneling money here, there, anywhere. Anyway, so yeah, the immigration agency is going to be the largest, more than the Homeland Security, FBI, CIA, and a couple other agencies combined. All those agencies combined are smaller than immigration, right? Talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. We're just wasting money, right? Killing our productivity. Our productivity rests on the backs of these immigrants who are working so hard, supporting everything at the top, all of us. The strawberries we're eating, the milk we're drinking, right? So it's just so much waste, fraud, and abuse. And none of it is doing anything to help our GDP, right? All that $170 billion that's being designated to build prisons for innocent people, to harm them, to send a message. Don't come here. We don't want you here. We're not a nice country anymore. We're a shitty country now that anyway. So the Gestapo is about to get real. Like, we already have the Gestapo out there violating everyone's rights and the law and the Constitution. And now we're going to see that effort turned up to 11, like in Spinal Tap. Oh, and then, of course, all the benefits for the rich, right? All the benefits for the rich. No more taxes for corporations, because, Amazon, we shouldn't ask Amazon to pay taxes. They can barely afford it. Google. We shouldn't ask the richest people in the world to pay income taxes, even though just taxing one of them could solve 1,000 problems in our country. Anyway, Diddy gets off, basically. But the judge wouldn't let him out because he's a threat to society. So that's interesting, right? And the judge, I suspect, is going to try to keep him in jail. He's a lot of latitude. He can give him time served. He can give him like up to 10 years or something. But Diddy got off. I wonder if there's any corruption in there, right? The hung jury. I wonder if there's people that are going to get paid off later for giving a hung jury on the RICO case and the other worst case. The two things he was acquitted for were the two things that could have given him jail time, serious jail time. And so you just got to wonder and then, of course, who's been threatened, who's been offered bribes in the whole jury thing, and then witnesses, that disappeared or whatnot. And Diddy really seems like, I think a lot of people think like what I think, is that he probably was involved in a lot of crimes, murders, rapes, and is not going to be held accountable for most any of it in this lifetime. But at least he's being held accountable for committing some crimes. And but weird. And it's not going to make any of the people that came out and spoke against him safe. There'll probably be stories of all these people meeting, being murdered 5, 10, 15 years from now, and it being called a suicide, like Virginia Giuffre, the Jeffrey Epstein lady, who said, "I will never commit suicide. So if anyone ever says I did, it's not true." And then supposedly she committed suicide, right? So Wisconsin, thank God Wisconsin voted for that beautiful, common sense woman to their Supreme Court, because they just legalized women's health care. So if you live in one of those shithole red states where women have no reproductive health care rights, you can go to Wisconsin to get reproductive health care. So that's a positive. That's one positive. We got one good one in there. We got one good one in there. All right. Now, let's. I'm gonna bring up, but I'm not gonna show it to you because I want you to hear the words from me. But these are the words, and if you haven't seen it, I mean, it is so compelling, right? It's at the website, or it's at the YouTube channel Many Things, MENI, capital T, Many Things, one word. And this has had 10 million views, but but it's called Alien Interview Number 1. Now, we know that Project Blue Book was a real project, right? That was the alien project of the government that ran through 1964. right? And so we know that that's true. So the beginning of this video, it shows a piece of paper that shows the file, Project Blue Book, right? And that's about to come up. So and it says the Air Technical Intelligence Center, ATIC. Now it later became a different intelligence agency, and I just looked this up. It all checks out, right? So this is and it's project number 22,675. Were there 22,000 projects by Project Blue Book over the what 15 years that they existed? Anyway, this is in 1964 in June, right? And it's at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and this in Ohio, and that is where the Air Technical Intelligence Center was, and which has been turned into the National Aviation Intelligence NA. It's got a different moniker now, but this is all real. At least these elements. So that's the page you're showing is Project Blue Book, and then it goes into the interview with the alien, right? And the person interviewing the alien is full of shit. He's some evangelical idiot, and he asks him, "So where are you from?" And the alien says, "Earth," right? And then he explains that he's an evolutionary descendant, and he comes from, and you can watch this interview. So I'll just where do you come from? State, planet, or origin? Earth. Yesterday you told us you traveled, and I quote, thousands of light years to get here. Yes, he confirms, I traveled thousands of light years to get here. Tell us the truth, says the idiot evangelical. It is truth, he says. I am from Earth, from your future. To travel in time is to travel in space. These are concepts we can barely understand. Offset spatial divergence, he refers to. So I take it aliens took over our future? No. So you're human? Yes, to an extent. I'm an evolutionary descendant, right? You evolved from us? Yes. Duh, that's what that means. This guy's such an idiot. So what are you doing here now? I'm observing, says the alien, since evidence was destroyed, right? Because we destroy ourselves. How? Nuclear war, he says. Small numbers survived. Our ancestors, the ancestors of the aliens visiting us, are evolutionary descendants of the small numbers of people that survived the nuclear war that's probably about to happen, okay? It's about to fucking happen. And stupid fucking humans can't get it through their thick skull that maybe we should try to avoid that. No, we've got Pete Hegseth just dying to create a war, a crusade. So our ancestors survived, he says. And then let's see here. And then how about we concentrate on your time, says. You are not capable of comprehending or accepting the discoveries of my time, says the alien. Which is obvious because this guy's such a fucking piece of shit. The origin of the universe, right? The guy's sure that God created all this shit. The nature of so-called life. The nature of life, it is known, right? So you know the meaning of life. No, not meaning, nature. Meaning is something ascribed by humans. The nature of life is something totally different, right? This is what the aliens describe. This all makes sense. Nature is the objective reality. Nature, right? So you know how the universe is created? He says, yes. So you've seen God, the dipshit asks him. We evolved past a need for superstition, says the alien. The need for a God and other myths, right? And let's just stop right there. The need for superstition, the need for a God and other myths, right? After we kill ourselves off in the name of God, hope for the second coming because of biblical prophecies. Apparently humans just decide, oh, that was a big mistake. Why would we be stupid enough to believe all those fucking superstitions that got everybody on earth murdered, right? Your religious superstitions are going to get us killed. Yes, according to the alien. All right? This is all Alien Interview Part 1. You should watch this shit. And what's interesting is he's an evolutionary descendant of us. And you can see it. He's got clavicles. He's got a similar bone structure. His head is grown, right? They obviously don't have sunlight, so they've evolved differently with bigger eyes. And of course, Christian jackasses can't accept evolution, that all things are evolving all the time. That's science. What would be smart is if there was some religion that accepted science, but nope. So then this racist evangelical traitor, a Republican no less, says to the alien, well, illuminate us, right? Explain. But see, we're not smart enough to comprehend, many of us are smart enough to be able to suspect that this all is completely rational, but not this guy. This guy's convinced that God is the answer to all the questions. So nature is the objective reality. So you know how the universe is created? Yes. So you've seen God? We evolved past the need for superstition. We evolved past a need for a God and other myths. Illuminate us. What happens when we die? This is heavy. Death is a human construct, right? This is our own making. It does not exist. You will experience and have experienced every instance of so-called life. How's that for deep? You, me, him. We are instances of the same life, separated by what you call death. How deep is that? So let me get this straight. There's no death, and we all experience each other's lives? In essence, yes. So how was the universe created? And why is it so perfectly made for us? Because God had to have done that. There are an infinite number of universes, and this is what's important, I think, each with different physical properties. Virtually all do not support life, such as you know it. In other words, we are an evolutionary miracle in a universe that is brutal and harsh, where life does not exist, but maybe, one, two, maybe 3 planets in the whole, out of trillions of planets, maybe support life. Like, that's how special this Earth is. And the fact that we're not just bending over backwards to preserve it and enjoy it and celebrate it. It should be art and sports and music and life celebrated every day. We should be celebrating our environment, not destroying it. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's very important because, we're under this notion that, we need to go live on some other planet. There's no other planet that'll sustain life. It's so special what we have here. It is so special. Oh, God. Death is a human construct. It's an idea that we created to torture ourselves with existential, thoughts. So let me get this straight. There's no death. And we all experience each other's lives. In essence, he says, yes, we're all experiencing each other's lives. So how was the universe created, and why is it so perfectly made for us? There are an infinite number of universes. Infinite. Each with different physical properties. Virtually all do not support life, such as you know it. We exist in a universe that does support so-called life. That is all. Moving on. So why do we destroy ourselves with nuclear war? Dogma, right? Can you be more specific? Yeah. It's political and religious dogma, right? Politically and religiously mentally ill assholes. We call them maggots, MAGA Republicans. Politically and religiously mentally ill, driving the world off a cliff, threatening to literally kill us all, which just is so awful to say. right? So why do we destroy ourselves with nuclear war? You fucking asshole. Dogma, says the alien. Can you be more specific? Political and religious dogma. But there's one more caveat coming, which is they can't even understand. The root of all major conflict of your species, he says. The root of all major conflict in our species, in the human species, the root of all major conflict are politically and religiously, mentally ill assholes, right? Who want to do harm for some contrived reason. In your next century. So then it comes to, when is this going to happen? And later he explains, in about a half century. And he's asked, hey, is the person alive that's going to cause all this right now? Yes. And the guy says, well, just tell us who he is. We'll go kill him right now, and then we'll save our future. So I can't do that, right? Everything you would expect from a time traveler. And every the most intelligent, rational thing a person with a brain twice the size of ours would say is what this alien says, which makes it plausible, right? And so why do we destroy ourselves with nuclear war, he said. And then dogma, right? Can you be more specific? Political and religious dogma, right? That's what kills us all. It is the root of all major conflict of your species, he tells us. In our next century. Access to weaponry of mass destruction by states that are ruled by dogma will destroy your species. One last thing. What about morality? What do you base your morality on? Compassion and evidence. Right? Compassion and evidence. I see. That's it. Thank you. All right, so that's alien interview number 1. And in the next one, I'm not going to do the next one, but there's alien interview number 2, number 3, number 4. They torture that alien to death on camera. You see that. But he also explains something, that there's one more element that destroys most life on the planet. Right? There's religion that kills most life on the planet, and politics that kills most life on the planet. And one more thing he says, and that's super artificial intelligence, right? This is 1964. Nobody can comprehend super artificial intelligence in 1964. But we can now. We know what super artificial intelligence is. It's happening. It's here, and it's about to destroy our lives at the behest of J.D. Vance and Palantir, and it is scarier than shit. The other thing is, he asked the alien, so when does this happen? Right? And I said, in about a half century. A half century from that interview was when Trump was elected. So, and now are we weeks, months, years? A year or two away from the nuclear bombs going off, and then he gets more specific. He says only a few nuclear bombs are detonated, right? I don't know, maybe it's 5 or 10, versus the 15,000 nuclear bombs that exist on Earth. It only takes 5 or 10 in one conflict or environment to completely fuck up the planet, right? In the northern hemisphere, there'll be a shitty dark cloud that moves around 7 billion people's clouds, right? 7 billion people live in the northern hemisphere. Maybe 1 billion live in the southern hemisphere. And so that's going to cause devastating effects on everyone's life. And of course, really weirdly and frighteningly, recently, Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, who's in charge of our National Security Agency, she did this sick and twisted video about how billionaires don't care if we destroy the planet with nuclear war, because they all have bunkers. They all have real nice lives. They can live underground. Like, that's something that they want to do because they think they're going to inherit the earth or something. It's all psychotic. But if it wasn't so rational, and if it didn't make so much sense, I wouldn't be talking about it. But now that we know, okay, we know that aliens are real. We got spaceships on film all over the place. Shit we can't explain 100 times over, happening all the time. And so, anyway, that's haunting, and that is the shit that keeps me up at night. So in my dreams, as a last ditch effort to save myself, my dream is to either get rich quick myself, some comedy miracle or some shit, sell a thing to Netflix and then buy a house here. Or I just sent a text. In fact, I'll read this text to you. I just sent to my friend who has incredible means, someone with very deep pockets. I know a few people like this, but and I suspect this guy might have not been able to vote for Kamala because it just seemed like something he couldn't do. I'm not sure, but here's what I sent to my friend. Because and this speaks to anybody. You can be a stranger, man. If you want to be partners on a house here, I can't buy a whole house here. I can afford the debt service on probably a third of a house in Maui, and I can put towards a down payment. I just don't have the credit. I can be added to title and not be on a mortgage. Or if you've got the deepest pockets in the world and you just want to pay cash, you can privately finance, my portion of it, and we can share title on a home here, and I will just start working on trying to make it so we could survive, a nuclear holocaust. Anyway, I wrote this to my friend. As we move past the suspension of our Constitution and the disgusting military parade, we get ever so close to the annihilation of the majority of the human race. Nuclear bombs will likely be detonated soon, whether it be in Asia, Europe, the Middle East, or in North America. After the nuclear catastrophe, where will you go? My suspicion is that they will happen somewhere other than on our territory, and airlines will still fly people around from place to place for a week or two or 3 or 4 after that before things really start to devolve. In other words, you could escape, maybe get one of the last flights out to Maui, and then come to your property here and save yourself, right? In case the air is better here than it is farther up in the northern hemisphere. And maybe even build some underground shit, who knows? But the start, have a garden, hope that the oceans don't die. We could maybe fish the ocean. I don't know. But anyway, after the nuclear catastrophe, where will you go? Do you have an underground shelter? He's got a gun collection. I'm not sure a gun collection will be enough to save yourself, right? And he thinks, I'll be able to protect myself. I got guns, right? Northern California, we got guns. We'll protect ourselves, right? But more importantly, save your family, right? If you're old and you got grandkids, you might want to do extraordinary things right now to protect you and the moment those bombs or that deadly dark cloud is coming your way, you might wish you had that underground shelter that the billionaire has, right? Maui might fare just as poorly as North America, but what if people here stand a better chance of survival from a nuclear winter storms? And I think that's what's going to be brutal, are the nuclear winter storms, right? The storms that are already bad. Imagine you throw nuclear into that shit. Anyway, would love to find a partner on a property here where I am hoping we have a better shot at survival than most. After the first nuclear bombs are detonated, remember this message, and that you have a friend on the ground here that would love to survive the godless Republicans' reckless destruction of everything we care about. Happy 4th of July. Even though we are no longer a free country, racist, bigot traitors, Republicans, have destroyed our constitutional rights and freedoms, unfortunately. Enjoy the holiday in case it's our last. Sending my love to the clan. Aloha. And then I sent one more message. You be the judge. If you have 4 minutes, go to Many Things and watch Alien Interview Part 1, and you will understand our future. Politically and religiously mentally ill Republicans will kill us all. Anyway, but yeah, my message to anybody I just would love to find a friend or 2 or 3 that have a collective interest in wanting to survive the impending doom that may very well be coming. And it seems more and more likely every day we watch this god-awful news and these disgusting, racist, sick, traitors, religiously, mentally ill people wanting to kill us all in the name of the Bible. Oh my God. Anyway, Zionists are psycho. All right, so thanks for watching All Good Things in All Good Time. 94 minutes. What is that? Hour and 34 minutes. Okay, good, not too long. And my YouTube channel's just been throttled for some reason, right? 2 days ago, I had 2,500 views on my view of the ocean. The very next day, 150 views, right? That is the throttling. YouTube doesn't like me for some reason, and this is going to have very few viewers, right? My last one had 2,500 views, or the one 2 ago, and then 300 views, and then this one's going to have like 100, because YouTube is weird, and I can't understand it. But I'm just going to keep doing whatever I do. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep doing this. Only because it is just so saddening and so depressing. Every time I'm about to do this news program, I just think to myself, oh, I just want to take a nap instead. Oh, it's so depressing. It's so sad. Anyway, so yeah, I suspect that our, I've gained, I've gained 300 subs from filming the ocean. Even the one yesterday that got 130, 150 views, I got 1 new subscriber. But of course, YouTube scrapes off subscribers. They're still doing that. And so, but luckily, I seem to get more than I'm losing, or that they take away, which we hear about from others, right? People saying they've been unsubscribed and they didn't unsubscribe. I think that happens to my channel. I suspect these algorithms are probably working in favor of the racist right-wingers, who claim that all the algorithms are gamed against them because they're always the victim. But I think that's why all the right-wingers have there's so many right-wing influencers, because they're favored, because they create animosity and friction that then drives viewership. I don't know. But the nice thing is, it's still relatively early. It's not too late in the day already. It's noon. God damn it. Anyway, it's noon. It's 4th of July. In a country formerly known as the United States of America, that used to celebrate freedom, but now this is National Subjugation Day. The Declaration of Subjugation, which is what these... we are back. Sorry about that. I ran out of power, and I thought, well, I should at least finish up somehow, some way, somewhere. Listen, thanks for watching. The god-awful news, because if you think the news sucked today, yeah, it did. And if you think it's going to be worse tomorrow, well, you would be right, because that's all these god-awful, godless, evil devils that are in Washington are going to give us. It's all they're going to give us is bad news turned to worse news, and then that's the new status quo, and then the next day, the worst news, the new bad news becomes worse again, and then tomorrow it'll be worse, and then the day after that, until either we all die, get locked up, or we get these god-awful, indecent human beings, if you even want to call them that. I mean, talk about, if any group in the world should be dehumanized, it's the Nazis. It's the racist Republican traitors. It's these people who are doing crime and harm against the Constitution, against people's faces and backs and arms, dislocating people's shoulders, tackling mothers, women, innocent people, people who are no threat to anybody, are being treated like Hannibal fucking Lecter. And it hurts. It hurts my soul. It hurts your soul. It's no fun for anybody. And it is what it is. Meanwhile, I'm going to keep working out, and I recommend you do your best to be the best person you can be. Take good care of your health. Take good care of your mind, your body, your spirit. You know, that's all we got for right now. And let's pray and hope that these dire prophecies said to us by aliens that have come back through time, through the time-space convergence, whatever it was he said. God, it's just so, it's so worth looking at, because that guy, that alien, is so right about everything. Anyway, and I wish he wasn't. Like, I wish that prophecy could just fall away because it doesn't make any sense. But it does, and it makes more sense every day as Palantir becomes and Trump become the antichrists that are going to try to kill everybody on Earth, like Thanos. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I'm sorry the news sucks so bad. But we can all be friends until then, and we can enjoy life until then, and hope that it never happens, and pray that we find some way to survive it, right? I'm wondering if I need to build a shelter in the mountains, and wondering whether or not I'll need to run to that shelter in the mountains because of the Nazis that are going to come for me, or the fallout from the nuclear bombs that might come for me. But I suspect whatever we think are our biggest concerns right now, they're just going to be overblown by the next set of bigger concerns because of the greater amount of crimes that these evil Republicans will continue to do. So that's the only predictable thing, is the evil Republicans are going to continue to commit harm and crime. They're going to do everything they can to hurt as many people as they can. And in the meantime, insult us by telling us, this is what the American want. This is keeping people safe. You're not keeping us safe. Keeping us safe from the landscaper at IHOP? Yeah, he's not really the guy I'm worried about. I'm worried about the Nazi Republican whose parents were Nazi Republicans, who's going to commit the next mass shooting or the next bombing, like that MAGA psychopathic bomb murdered those people with bombs recently, and on and on. I predict there'll be another mass shooting soon. Some murders will be committed, just like that the MAGA murderer who murdered two elected officials in Minnesota. Right? It's just always 80% of the time. Statistics show 80% of the time, all the terrorists are white supremacist Republicans, MAGA asshole Republicans, because 99.25% of Republicans are assholes, studies show. And that's the exact same number of people who never commit crimes from other countries. Immigrants only commit 0.75. 99.25% of immigrants never commit any crime. And those who did commit a crime are in jail. And those who did commit a crime serve their time and don't need to be recriminalized because of something they served their time for. But racist, evil Republican devil worshippers aren't smart enough, to understand this shit. They just want to do harm and crime and then tell Americans that it's for your own good. We're protecting you. Bunch of lies. Anyway, I love you guys. You have a great day. God bless America, if there is one left to bless, if there is a God to bless us. Hope you all have a great 4th of July. And we'll see. We'll see how much longer I can keep doing the god-awful news, because it's so god-awful. But, of course, if I ever did get into politics, I would have been well-informed up until that point. So I suppose it serves that purpose, if nothing else. All right, everybody. Do no harm. Do no crime. Thanks for watching All Good Things and All Good Time. This is the God-Awful News. I'm Craig Hamilton Bradley. In case I run for president, Craig Hamilton Bradley. All right. Aloha.